Welcome. So, what if I told you there's a list out there, one that most people have never even heard of, that has the power to shake an entire country's economy? Well, today, we're pulling back the curtain on exactly that, the FATF Gray List. It's a global financial wake-up call that, honestly, every professional should understand. So let's just start with the big question. What is the world's most powerful financial watch list? It's not something you're going to hear about on the 6 o'clock news. But believe me, its impact is felt in banks and boardrooms all over the world. It quietly shapes the flow of trillions of dollars every single day. And look, this isn't just some abstract idea. Just imagine it's February 2026, and suddenly two nations, say Kuwait and Papua New Guinea, find themselves on this very list. An event like that would send shockwaves through the entire international compliance community. That's what makes understanding this topic so critical right now. So, what does it really mean to be on this list? Honestly, the best way to wrap your head around it is to think of it like a financial check engine light for a whole country. It's not a complete breakdown, not yet anyway, but it's a very serious, very public, flashing warning sign that says, hey, something under the hood here needs immediate attention. So who's the one flipping the switch on this check engine light? That brings us to our first section. We need to understand the global financial watch list itself and the powerful organization that runs the whole show. The organization is called the Financial Action Task Force, or FATF for short. And their mission? It's huge. They are the global standard-setting body for fighting money laundering and terrorism financing. Basically, they write the international rulebook that's supposed to keep the entire global financial system clean and secure. Okay, so now we know who the FATF is, let's get right to the heart of the matter. What exactly is this gray list that they're so famous for? Well, the official, kind of boring term for it is jurisdictions under increased monitoring. But here's what that actually means. It means the FATF has found some really serious gaps in a country's financial defenses, what they call strategic deficiencies. In response, that country has to get up in front of the world and commit to a strict action plan to fix things. And from that moment on, they are under a global microscope. The bottom line, the world now officially sees them as a riskier place to do business. Now, it's really important to draw a line here. Being on the gray list is serious, right? It triggers increased monitoring, but there's another level, the blacklist. And that is a whole different ballgame. That's a call for action, where the FATF is telling other countries to actively take financial countermeasures. So think of the gray list as the final, very loud warning shot. The blacklist? That's when the world is told to take action. So what does a country have to do, or I guess more accurately, fail to do, to get this check engine light turned on? Let's take a look at the common problems that get a country put on this list in the first place. Usually it's not just one thing, it's a pattern of failures. It often starts with just weak supervision of banks and financial firms. That weakness leads to the next problem, huge gaps in knowing who really owns and controls companies, the ultimate beneficial owners. When you don't know who owns things, your financial intelligence becomes ineffective, you can't connect the dots. And the final piece of the puzzle? No consequences, not enough serious investigations or prosecutions for major financial crimes. It's a domino effect. Okay, so a country lands on the list. Big deal, right? Why does this actually matter to the rest of us? This is where you see the real-world impact. Let's trace the international ripple effect. The very moment a country gets gray-listed, you can bet alarms are going off in compliance departments all around the world. Every major bank, every investment firm, they all have to officially reassess that country's risk rating. And just like that, overnight, the cost and the headache of doing business with that nation just went way up. And that leads directly to a slowdown. Suddenly, any transaction with a link to that country gets put under a microscope. It has to go through something called enhanced due diligence. For regular businesses and people, that means a lot more paperwork, a lot more questions, and a lot more delays just to move money in or out. And this is where the pressure really hits the country's entire banking system. You see, banks have these essential relationships with other banks around the world to process international payments. They're called correspondent banking relationships. Well, those relationships come under serious strain. Some global banks might just decide the risk is too high and cut ties completely, which can start to isolate the country's whole financial system. And all of this leads to one big thing, shaken confidence. Foreign investors, they get nervous. They see that graylist tag as a huge red flag for instability and weak governance. And that can scare away the foreign investment that's so critical for economic growth, damaging the country's reputation for years to come. So after seeing what causes this and the pretty dramatic effects, what are the big lessons here? What should we really take away from all of this? Let's break it down. First, these FATF lists aren't just suggestions. They force real, tangible changes in how banks have to operate, everywhere. Second, a gray listing isn't a small thing. It is a major risk escalation event that you just can't ignore. Third, it really proves that a country's risk profile is never set in stone. It's constantly changing and needs to be monitored. And finally, and this might be the most important one, the world is demanding to know who owns what. Corporate transparency is no longer some nice-to-have idea. It's a top global enforcement priority. And this really gets at the bigger picture. In our deeply connected world, there's just no place left to hide dirty money. Financial transparency isn't just a goal anymore. It's becoming a hard and fast requirement to even participate in the global economy. Which, of course, leaves us with one final, very interesting question to think about. Who's going to be next on the watch list?
Thank you for watching this lesson. If you found it helpful, please like the video and subscribe for more AML and compliance training. If you would like to earn an anti-money laundering certificate, please visit www.nasiacademy.ca. The first course is free and eligible for certification. I'll see you in the next lesson.